All right, well, it's 6:01, so let's get this going. I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 to order and turn it over to Sam.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Planning Commission. Today is August the 21st, 2024. Please confirm your attendance as I call your name. Chairman Reed Haggard.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Andy Porter, absent. Commissioner Robin Conklin. Here. Commissioner Karen Trolovich, absent. Commissioner Dave Nichols, absent. Commissioner Andrea Settles. Here. Commissioner Elizabeth Kelly. Here. Your attendance have been confirmed and will be included in the official meeting minutes. Now I will read the announcements regarding the decorum and procedure of the Planning Commission meeting. The Planning Commission's duty is to review and provide recommendations on applications for legislative review, including text amendments, comprehensive plan character area maps amendments, zoning map amendments, rezonings, and conditional use permits. The petitions will be heard in the sequence listed on the posted agenda. Following are some of the rules and procedures for this part of the meeting. The applicant and all those speaking in support of the application will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present the petition. The applicant may choose to save some of their time for rebuttal following the presentation by the opposition. The opposition will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present its position. Since the burden of proof is upon the applicant will be allowed to make closing remarks, provided time remaining from the original allotted time. Some staff will keep track of time for both sides. Those called to speak will be taken in the order that the public comment cards were received by the Planning and Zoning Clerk prior to the beginning of tonight's meeting. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and if applicable, organization before beginning their presentation. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. So please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue when the person is speaking. Please show the same respect to the person speaking that you will expect to receive. The applicant shall not submit materials to the Planning Commission during the meeting. All materials should be submitted to the Community Development Department at least 30 days prior to the scheduled meeting for inclusion in the normal distribution of packaging to the Commission. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Sam. We've got a meeting agenda that I think we all have a copy of, and it's up here on the board, too. Motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Ms. Kelly has moved, seconded by Ms. Settles. All in favor? So moved. I've got meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was on May 22nd. It looks all in order to me. Anybody got any questions? No? A motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the May 22nd, 2024 minutes.
And second by Ms. Kelly. All in favor? All right, so moved. Let's go to our first case. Sam?
Thank you, Chair. 2024-0001, U24-0001, 6450 Barfield. A request for a conditional use permit to modify the scope of expansion of an existing place of worship campus in the RE-2 zoning district, presented by Matthew Anspaugh.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Thank you for making a quorum tonight. Before you, as Sam has presented, we have one case, U24-0001 for 6449 Glen Ridge Drive and 6450 Barfield Road. The request, of course, tonight is a use permit to modify the scope of expansion for an existing place of worship, a temple, campus in the RE2 zoning district. Once again, we have our zoning map on the left, character area map on the right, and the zoning, again, RE2, protected neighborhood character. You got a surrounding neighbors that are both perimeter type zonings, and you have some protected neighborhood and some multi-unit residential neighborhoods as well. So pretty good mix of residential uses and a little bit of commercial office as well surrounding the campus. Here you see the aerial image. The focus tonight, of course, is within that green rectangle, the left or western side, where the action will take place, the actual redevelopment of the meeting house. And then on the right, of course, is the temple portion of the campus. As it says here, the site is over 13 acres. It's RE2 zoning, 2 parcels. And you have the meeting house, which is up for discussion tonight. But you also have a bookstore or a distribution center on site as well, and the temple itself, and ample parking as well. The meeting house built in '88, so it's a little bit seen better days probably, and certainly the size is probably ready to be looked at, which is why they're here tonight to look to expand, which is also why we're here to take a look at any impacts that might have. The site, again, temple, meeting house, and other buildings, and it abuts Mercedes-Benz to the north and Aria, and again some neighborhoods to the south. Kind of the same thing to the east and west. You've just got more residential mix. Here we have the survey of the portion of the campus in question. You see the existing meeting house, almost a perfect rectangle. The, of course, updated meeting house being proposed would turn 90 degrees. It would be a little bit closer to Glenridge Drive than it is now. I think it's approximately 200 feet from Glenridge. It would be a little bit closer at about 90 or so feet. Here are just some pictures you guys have seen. This is basically what you see from Glenridge now, but from a much further distance.
Yeah. Matt, we'd
Yes.
just like to recognize the presence of Dave Nichols.
Hey, Dave.
I apologize to everyone for being a little tardy.
Thanks, Michelle. Some parking spaces. Very similar. We see the southern portion of the parking area surrounding the building, and then, of course, the back side of the building that you don't see from Glenridge, more in the middle of the campus. So the proposed development, again, it includes replacing the existing meeting house, turning it 90 degrees, long ways, if you will, toward Glenridge. And it is a single-story meeting house. The existing footprint is close to 15,000 square feet, while the replacement would be about close to a 70% increase in total square footage. The total impervious for the site apparently only goes up by about 12%, though. The proposed parking is 311 spaces, which would be a little over 25% increase in the existing amount of stalls. Again, these are the primary reasons why this is being brought back for a use permit, is so that everyone got a look at potential impacts. Obviously, things like traffic studies and the like were done to really verify whether there should be any expectation that any new traffic capacity measures should be taken in this scenario, and we'll kind of get into that on the next slide or two. So again, here you see the site plan. The building turned 90 degrees now, long ways with the site. The additional parking is a little harder to make out with what's existing. But again, suffice to say that as they rearranged some drives and things like that, the number ended up being an additional 67 spaces for a total of 311. And of course, here is the elevation, what you would see from Glenridge. Here is a site plan showing quite a few things here. Obviously, the I guess we would just call it plainly the place of worship. And behind there, of course, is probably a multi-use court. Some of these things are pretty understandable. Similar to offices today, the challenge for a lot of folks is getting people to show up. Not that that's the issue here, but a lot of times buildings, they need additional space, and they amenitize the spaces a lot more than they used to. And certainly that we have something like that here. The space certainly increased a lot, but it all fits within their existing programming as we understand it. So again, talking about some of the main concerns that the code has if a property is a civic use like this, a place of worship, and it wants to increase capacity, we bring it in for use permit if the change is significant enough, which it often is. And some of the main things with that, of course, are traffic. Are there any negative impacts to the surrounding community? Through the traffic study and in talking with all of our engineers, getting comments from the arborists and everyone else, staff doesn't see any detrimental impacts from the increases that were stated. The use is, of course, allowed as a cup in the district, and it would comply as proposed. With a few tweaks, it would comply with all previous conditions and certainly a development code as it stands for these types of uses. So again, no potential adverse impacts that staff sees. It certainly maintains the sense of place. I think staff generally likes buildings to kind of be engaged with the street, and although this will still be a significant distance from the street, it's a little more noticeable and a little bit more a part of the community and not as far off. So in that sense, we're also supportive. The continued appropriate land use transition, so again, same use. There's no change in that regard. So in addition to that, anytime someone comes in to redevelop, most of the time there's enough of a redevelopment going on that they trigger the improvements to the streetscape. So that will certainly be another improvement to the surrounding community. The site is large enough and laid out in such a way that any traffic generally is queued on site. Has been, I'm sure, already, and will continue to do so as their traffic studies supported. And yeah, so that's really it. Staff really didn't have any issues per se, and I think the public generally was in support of it. There were not a lot of comments against that sort of thing. And with that, you have in front of you the conditions. I will say these conditions were updated today, but it is actually nothing new. There was just sort of an error in how we brought about the conditions to show for tonight. These are existing conditions, minus some of the automatic conditions that were on the previous use permit. And the automatic meaning they're already in our code. They don't need to be listed individually. So this is really what's already there. Maybe reworded a couple of things, but it has the same material sense in it. And so all we recommend tonight is that we keep those existing conditions that are already in play. And we recommend, of course, approval with those conditions.
That it, Matt?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, great. Let's hear from the applicant.
Chairman Haggard and members of the Planning Commission, my name is Jeff Haymore with the law firm of Dillard Sellers. Our address is 1776 Peachtree Street. And thank you for holding tonight's public hearing. Our firm represents the applicant, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Here with me tonight are John Erickson and Katie Miller with the architecture firm of Hill, Foley, Rossi, as well as Daniel Herrera with the engineering firm of Lowe's Engineer. Also wanted to recognize the presence of back there, Wayne Hales, who's the church's facilities manager. As Matt was sort of explaining, the church has operated a temple and a meeting house on this property since 1982 and 1988, respectively, pursuant to a 1980 conditional use permit approved by Fulton County. Now, as the surrounding properties have developed and redeveloped, they've moved in, and we welcome them and have great relationships with our neighbors, which I'll talk about in just a second. But as you heard before you tonight is the church's proposal to replace the existing meeting house with a new meeting house. The existing meeting house is at the end of its life cycle. So the meeting house is where we host Sunday worship as well as Wednesday fellowship meetings for both members of the church and visitors. So we come before you tonight with a staff recommendation of approval with those conditions. As Matt explained, some of those are new to us in the sense of they're a little bit different than what the staff report that was released on Friday showed. And I think we'll have to maybe get into that a little bit and maybe adjust a little bit on the fly. So, for example, one of the conditions references the site plan dated, I think, May 24th, and there is an updated site plan from August 15 that was sent to the city in response to some public works comments to show the correct right-of-way location. So things like updating the date of the site plan would definitely be something that would be appropriate. We do agree with staff's analysis, though, that the proposed CUP is compatible with the RE2 zoning, that it's consistent with the goals of the comprehensive development plan, that we meet all the applicable CUP standards, and that there are no potential adverse impacts that are anticipated. We also come before you tonight with the written support from the Glenridge Close Homeowners Association, which shares a common property line just to the south of us. The association's letter of support is found at page 60 of your packet, and the association's president, Chris Cornell, who's here, will speak to you in just a moment. From the comments that we received and the commitments that we made at the two community public meetings, the church has proposed 5 CUP conditions, which are found at page 62 of your packet. These are some commitments that we made. I want to honor those. They weren't included by staff, and so it's up to your pleasure what you want to do, but I wanted to be forthright about that. Some commitments that we made, again, at page 62 of your packet. You saw the proposed elevations and floor plan, and those are at pages 39 to 41 of your packet. And they're also here on these boards. I don't know if you can see. I'm more than happy to bring them forward if you would like to, but they are there in front of you. The meeting house will be an all-brick facade with asphalt shingle roof. The height of the building will actually be 1 foot shorter than it is currently, and the new proposed height would be 33 feet and 5 inches. The site plan, as I said, is dated August 15th, 2024, to show the correct right-of-way along Glenridge. So whereas the current configuration of the meeting house sort of goes north and south, it will orient more east-west so that it faces and engages to the street. We will build sidewalks along Glenridge Drive. That was one of the comments that we received from the community. Obviously, our meeting house is older than others along the area, and so we're going to build the sidewalk that will connect the parcels on both sides of us. Just a couple of things. The south parking lot and driveway, those will be unchanged. They'll stay the way they are. The north parking lot and driveway will be reconfigured in a way that traffic flows better, and actually the driveway comes further into our property, meaning further away from the adjacent parcels to the north. There is a net increase of 64 spaces, as was pointed out, and those will all be located behind the meeting house. and will, of course, comply with all the landscape requirements, both for the parking lots as well as the site. And on that point, we worked closely with the Glenridge Close Homeowners Association and agreed on a landscape plan, which I think you can see right here, within that 25-foot landscape buffer. With their agreement, we're adding 99 new plantings within that area to supplement the existing grown vegetation. So with that, we ask that you send forth a favorable recommendation to the City Council. I think we'll maybe have some discussion perhaps about how those conditions read, but would like to reserve the remainder of my time for rebuttal. I don't know if I'll need any, but wanted to reserve that. And with that, just really answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Hengenworth. I got that right? Hengenworth?
Haymore, like more hay, but just Haymore.
Oh, hey.
Yep.
So, well, I was way off then. Okay, sorry about that. But hey,
No worries.
thank you. And yes, we'll reserve that time. Sam, do we have any comment cards?
Yes, we do.
Okay, well then let's open the public comment portion of this presentation and go with what we got.
We have Chris Cornell. He's in support.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Chris Cornell. I'm from the Glenridge Close Homeowners Association. I reside at 730 Glenridge Close Drive, Sandy Springs, Georgia 30328. Planning Commission. The Glenridge Close Homeowners Association supports the approval of the conditional use permit as is required for the church's intended replacement of the meeting house on the current meeting house property. The association, including its board members, support the processes and approvals required for the granting of such a conditional use permit. During and since the community process, the church and the association have worked collaboratively on matters such as security cameras, landscaping, and construction hours. The association supports the church's 5 proposed conditional use permit conditions, and the association respectfully asks that the city approve the conditional use permit. And I'll also add that we believe that the meeting house will be a wonderful addition to the community, and would like to also state that the church has been nothing but good neighbors for the entire existence that I've lived there, and that we've been a homeowners association. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cornell.
Yes, so all of the in support, including the applicant, is a full 10 minutes.
Right,
So,
right.
okay, so, but you guys can vote for additional time if you wanted to make a motion.
I think we're okay right now.
Okay.
If we need it, we can. Next card.
That's it.
I thought we said we had 3.
Huh? No, we only had 1,
Oh.
but they had 3 minutes that remaining.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't think we need any additional time. Per the status here, we've heard the case, we've heard the application, we've heard all the comments. I ask if there is a motion for case number 20240001, U24-001, 6450 Barfield Road.
I'd like to make a motion.
Ms. Settles?
I will make an motion in approval of case number 2024-0001, U24-0001, 6450 Barfield. A request for conditional use permit to modify the scope of expansion of an existing place of worship campus in the RE2 zoning district. With the conditions, Matt, I need to ask a question here because I have 3 different copies, so I don't know if it's conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's a good question. It's good to get that straight. So the 1 through 5 should be your updated version. That again, it's simply taking from what was there originally. So the use permit already existed. The latest round was 2010, so I took what was from 2010. I removed anything that was you must submit for LDP or something automatic, and simply included what was kind of specific to this particular site and this particular use permit. But to your question, it's the one with 5.
My motion should include the conditional approval of items 1 through 5.
Great. We have a motion from Ms. Settles, a second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Nichols. Any discussion with regard to the case? Comments, questions? I got one question. Mr. Haymore, on the, I guess on this, on the proposed site plan, is there an existing multi-use like basketball court there? And if so, is it something that is rented out or used for outside leagues or whatever?
That's a great question, and thank you for that. So the answer is there is an existing basketball court. It's called by the church a cultural hall. Basketball striping is seen, and so that's the most prominent. It's a hardwood floor. They have meals there. They have talent shows and activities, and the youth sometimes will play basketball. They're foldable basketball standards. But there's no outside youth sports leagues. The church does not engage in any of that. They don't have daycares, sports leagues, or anything involving a fee where people come. So there won't be any additional traffic.
Okay.
It's kind of, for lack of it, just kind of not that exciting in the sense of sort of folks coming out and clogging up parking and things like that. Want to be clear on the conditions. Page 62 of the packet, the church committed to conditions beyond what staff has asked for, and I can review those with you, and maybe you don't have a desire to adopt those, but there were some conditions that we agreed to relative to some security cameras, the landscaping specifically pointed out over here, construction hours. Currently under city code, we have the right to construct on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That was a concern of the neighbors, and we committed not to do any construction on Saturday other than interior construction. So if you were not to take our conditions, then, I think we might still live by those, but they wouldn't be binding. And so wanted to point that out in case the intent of the commission is to adopt those commitments into the approval.
Matt, do we need to adopt those in there, or is that a separate discussion, or is that already built into the rules and regulations of the city?
You can recommend those to be adopted along with, the original ones that you stated, Andrew, if you guys so choose.
Being that I don't believe I have a copy of those. I don't know if we can add that in.
Do you have your packet? And I keep saying packet. It's what the city sent us.
Yeah. No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we're good here. I think if that needs to be added, I think you'll need to add that prior to your meeting with your presentation to the city council.
And that's fair enough. On the site plan, though, the date May 22, 2024, that's an older site plan. I don't think it's the one that the city, I know it's not the one that the Public Works Department wanted updated. And so the date there would be August 15th.
You guys could consider an amendment for your recommendation to include the most recent date for the site plan, if you like.
Do you want to modify I think you amend your motion to be what it was with any additional things you want to include.
All right, I will amend my motion. Thank you. And now I will create a new motion to approve 2024-0001, U-24-0001, 6450 Barfield, conditional use permit to modify the scope of expansion of an existing place of worship campus in the R2 zoning district. And I would like to include with that the conditional use requirements that the city has established, which is numbers 1 through 5. And in addition, under U24-0001, the applicant proposed conditions, you have an additional 5 conditions that refer to cameras, landscape, construction hours, blasting, and existing parking.
And that it includes the updated site plan.
And to include the updated site plan.
We have a motion from Ms. Settles, second from
Okay.
Mr. Nichols.
And if I could interject before we vote,
Yes.
sorry. Before we close the public hearing, we just need to recognize there was no opposition.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haymore.
Thank you.
So, what did I say? Okay, I did good that time? Okay, thank you. Great, so we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Yes. All right, well, there's that. Any ongoing business that we need to know about? Michelle, anything, Matt? New business?
Yeah, what did you say? Yeah, if Michelle's about to say.
There's a delay on my mic, sorry. Yeah, no meeting for September, at least, but we do have one for October coming.
So no meeting in September, we do have October, and why do you have a delay on your mic?
I just, you know.
Do you tend to blurt things out that might be inappropriate?
Maybe, I don't know, he probably put that in. Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know.
just want to make sure. All right, so, Mr. Nichols?
What are we going to be looking at in October?
It's going to be Aria, right? Yeah, it's a rezoning to update their conditions for the Aria subdivision north of Abernathy.
I'm sorry, for the what?
Aria subdivision north of
Oh,
Abernathy. Mhm.
The football stuff hasn't
Oh, no, that's not yet. No, you're talking about Mount Vernon. No, not yet.
Yeah, and just to frame it a little bit, that ARIA rezoning is really more like what used to be called a modification, only we don't have those anymore, so we still call them rezoning. It's modification to the conditions.
Got it. Thank you. With nothing else on our agenda, motion to adjourn by somebody? Motion. Ms. Kelly's made a motion. Second by Mr. Nichols. All in favor? So adjourned. Okay.
You could play some basketball.